Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I've been stuck getting here, but since I've got here, I've listened to a number of speeches before my own, and it's entirely normal for me to disagree with speakers before I speak and to find what they say objectionable. But I have to say that I heard a couple of speeches, and not the honourable member who spoke before me, but others prior to that, who I felt were verging on hate speech themselves and were really objectionable to a number of minority groups in this country. And I felt that the quality of some of this debate was demeaning to this House. I think there are members opposite, and maybe even on the opposition benches, who feel that supporting this bill may be settling some old scores, making a dog whistle to people that want to hear it, giving a nod and a wink to a certain sort of constituent. But, you know, as somebody of Jewish descent who came from the war generation in Eastern Europe, I feel really strongly that the slippery slope we're going down is one that members opposite in the government side might not be able to control. And I'm not saying that they themselves are like this, but there are other forces in society, that will take advantage of this type of legislation and utilise it, and other bills that we've seen recently. And they will utilise it in a way that the government will cease to have control over, and it will create a runaway train effect. And I do not want that to happen in this country. People like me and other people in this chamber will find it a very difficult country to live in. We just need to look at what happened yesterday to 3 of our brave England footballers after they missed a penalty, something that happens to every footballer in their career, and the horrendous racism that they experienced. I'll come back to the subject, but I was deeply uncomfortable at some of the previous contributions to debate, and I felt I had to raise that. During my time at the University of Leeds, and I was a student and a staff member there as well, the 2 most notorious new faces of the British far right made our campus the site of their race war. And their story tells me all I need to know about why this legislation should never reach the statute books. During my year on the executive of the Leeds University Union, supporters of Claire Fox, now Baroness Fox, and Living Marxism established a free speech society to remove the students' no platform for racist and fascist policy. In the name of libertarianism, maybe the reason why many of members opposite are supporting this bill. 2 unknown first years joined the society, and when the adherents of Baroness Fox graduated, those 2 took over society and stepped up their activities on campus. Many known racists and fascists were seen in their company on campus. It was difficult to administer the policy and the legal framework that now exists and vet who the Free Speech Society were platforming in rooms they were trying to book out. The 2 people involved were Chris Beverley and Mark Collett. They are now 2 of the most notorious fascists this country has seen. Mark Collett was tried alongside Nick Griffin in 2006, and I'll come back to that. They were both in a number of absolutely notorious documentaries produced in the 2000s, and I'd suggest if members don't know what I'm talking about, they watch Young, Fascist and Proud to understand more about these 2 characters. The issue came to head in an attempt to overturn the no platform for racist fascist policy by Collett and Beverley at a general meeting of the Student Union, which had to be held in the refectory, which had hosted The Who in their seminal Live at Leeds concert. There were easily over 300 people there, and many Jewish students spoke against the attempt to remove the policy, as well as the campus rabbi and myself. Collett and Beverley were the only ones to speak in favour, and in a highly inflammatory way. It was overwhelmingly defeated. It had been clear for some time to all on campus who Collett and Beverley really were, but the mask slipped for everybody, everywhere that day. The policy had passed. Collett and Beverley would have invited figures such as Nick Griffin and David Irving, this country's leading Holocaust nut, onto campus under the auspices of free speech. The Free Speech Society soon ran into trouble, and the following AGM, the Student Union, fully understood the issue with these 2 fascists, but gave them a room fearful of legal action. The meeting didn't go ahead, and the society, which was just acting front to fashion by that point, was disbanded, not due to any policy of the Student Union, but to a protest by students themselves. Just 5 years later, around the same time as Mark Collett was on trial with Nick Griffin at Leeds Crown Court for race hate crimes, at Leeds University in February 2006, a contributor to the university newspaper, Leeds Student, interviewed Dr. Frank Ellis, in which the academic expressed support for the bell curve theory that said there are racial differences in average intelligence. The Leeds Student also published an article by Ellis, Time to Face the Truth About Multiculturalism, in which he described the Parrott Report as a very nasty anti-white tract. He then went on to be interviewed on media, and the Student Union put out a statement calling for his dismissal. Leeds University condemned Ellis' views as abhorrent. I'd left the university by then, but I went up to meetings at the university and I objected to his continued employment as a member of the alumni committee. Ellis was subsequently suspended by the Vice-Chancellor pending disciplinary proceedings, which never concluded because he retired early. My point is that if this law was in place, then the Student Union and university would never have taken any action against these radical far-right fascists whose only intent is the erasure of diversity on the planet, people like me and Charlotte, and the honourable member next to me, and others in this chamber. And that is why I think that people need to be really careful about how they use free speech. Free speech is something that we all defend. We all talk about pluralism, but it can also be a cover for something much deeper, something much more unpleasant, and the consequences of which we all know, and we will speak strongly against in this chamber every year. And we marked yesterday about Srebrenica and the Srebrenica Memorial Day. And this government needs to be very careful on the dark road that is taking us down. Thank you.